just continue to excel.
Absolutely.
Excel. Okay.
Yeah.
Excel. Be non-apologetic about where you want to deepen your skill.
Yeah.
Be non-apologetic about that. You create the niches, right? And whether somebody thinks it's a niche or not, don't wait for that validation. Okay? Don't wait for that validation.
Welcome to the Radisson Blue Sandton Hotel, where we are shooting episode 5 of the ICT Dynamic Women podcast. Today, I am joined by none other than the dynamic powerhouse, Masego Mabalane. Join me today as we enjoy this beautiful space. Hello and welcome to the ICT Dynamic Women podcast, a space where we celebrate voices, where we elevate women who are dynamic in their own right, who tell us phenomenal stories about how they are leading in the world of ICT and how they are shaping this space. Today, I am so excited to have this conversation with Masego Mabalane, a dynamite of a woman with over 2 decades in the ICT sector. So let me not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Hi, Masego.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Oh, what a pleasure on this beautiful cold morning in Johannesburg. But so happy to be here. So happy to be here.
So happy to have you. You know, I want to actually, I always say we start off with who is Masego, right? And that's where I want to start.
Yeah.
Let's start about like who is Masego and your grassroots.
Yeah.
What actually led you to the ITC space?
You're right. Okay. So yeah. I was born in Soweto.
Yep.
Over 4 decades ago. Yes, we get to be comfortable with saying that these days. We must, right?
Yeah.
I'm an only girl child amongst 3 boys. And I was raised by 2 very loving parents. You and I had a conversation earlier about how, my father was a very affectionate man.
Yes.
And I think he passed on that to my brothers. It was good to see growing up. I think having spoken to a lot of my girlfriends, I don't think it was very common
Not at all.
in many households. But yeah, that's the type of man I was raised by, a very strong man, and I think I took in a lot of that strength, which came in very handy because life then happened. Life happened. You leave your parents' home. In my case, I left home in 1998. Went to do a degree in information systems. I did a BCom information systems, and it used to be called UND. Now it's called UKZN.
Okay.
I did that in record time, thanks to ESCOM. Okay, you shall not speak bad about ESCOM. Okay,
You shall not.
You shall not. Okay.
Anything about ESCOM.
If you like I especially do. So I did that degree, and then I went to start work. I worked for ESCOM.
Yeah.
My first office was at Megawatt Park as a junior business analyst. I'm not even sure if that's even still a career right now. It still is. Okay. But yeah, I think that gave me a very solid grounding. I mean, then I was still programming. I was still writing user requirement specs. I was doing systems testing, but I was designing business processes. But actually, that was a strong base that actually, through the skill set, through engaging various stakeholders, through getting to understand why does the business do what it does, how do we meet the business needs through the systems that we actually then, put in front of either internally, our internal stakeholders or our clients as a result. And yeah, I mean, I think one thing probably led to another. And somewhere down the line, I remember when I started it at Ericsson, which that's how I got it. Yeah.
A lot of people would be,
Yes.
what is that?
So what is that?
I remember my first Ericsson phone.
Yeah.
Actually, I won it in a competition. I was like, this is so exciting. So you start off in Ericsson.
I start off at Ericsson, and what a lot of people do not know is that Ericsson wasn't just a device organization. Okay.
Yes.
They're literally responsible for a lot of the network that makes how we all communicate these days possible.
Yeah.
All the large telcos in this country and beyond, Ericsson provides the network and the equipment, physical equipment that makes telecommunications possible.
Wow.
Got thrown into that. I remember landing in Zambia in what's called a NOC, a network operating center.
Yeah.
You can see how big I am. So you can imagine how big I was about 19 years ago. A room full of men, and there's all these lights, and it literally looks like a traffic light. Imagine a lot of traffic lights and a lot of lights in it, but they're literally monitoring the network, the quality of network, and people, is connectivity happening for people, managing all the downtime, making sure that there's less latency in the systems and all of that. And what I was there to do was to understand how to improve their business processes.
And I love how you're saying, you go in. It's a beautiful world. I mean,
yes,
it's lights everywhere. It's technology.
Yes.
I mean, the closest we were to that, as you say, 4 decades later, was probably us watching Star Trek. We're like, yay, many guys. So as you now, you're walking in. I mean, you've been in this game for over 2 decades.
Correct.
And I just want to know from your end, if you look back, and I mean, as you are taking us through your journey, how was that feeling, walking in and being the only female in the room?
Sibongile, the truth is, I didn't even realize what was going on.
Yeah.
I don't actually think I recognized what I was stepping into, and I'll break that down for you a bit, in the sense that, firstly, how was I supposed to show up? Nobody had told me that. I'd never had the pleasure or the privilege of that discussion with anyone.
Yes.
Okay, and that's not a blame I'm putting on anyone, but just the if I'd had a colleague who looked like me, possibly, if I had seen a podcast like this, in 1997, just prior to 1998, going onto campus, right, I would have had some conception of how I should probably show up in Zambia, on that stage, right, in that NOC. Okay. However, secondly, I could have been better prepared to also interpret these men who I met in the NOC. I think some of them were actually literally dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do with me. They didn't know what to do with this person, purely because as a consultant, first of all, your work is already hard enough. Okay, you're always there to do some transformation, and sometimes the strategy is not very well publicized to the rest of the organization. That, hey guys, okay, we've pulled in this piece of project. This is what the objectives of this project are.
How it links back to the strategy.
This is how it links back to the strategy, right? So that would have done me good, to be able to say to these men, hey, this is why I'm actually here. I could have probably better articulated that myself. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm here to help you with. It really took a lot of getting it wrong before I finally got it right. First of all, I'm nervous. I'm in a foreign country. And then you have to entertain clients. Part of that is also you have to entertain clients.
Sure.
Right? You would know. In consulting, it's not just about the current business. It's about the next.
It's about the next business. About closing the next.
So I think the long and short of it is big lessons learned. However, what didn't change, my work probably didn't change much from there. What changed was probably the level of complexity I dealt with from then on, level of complexity from the size of the engagement, in terms of the revenue I was bringing in for whichever organization I was working for at the time. And then even just dealing with, the company and the political dynamics of on the client side and even on the internal side.
And we're still going to touch on the politics because you know how that subject gives me goosebumps because you straight on talk about it in such a refreshing way. But before we even get to that, with you've now taken us through. Here you are. You start off at Megawatt Park, and then you walk into another different world. You're now saying, okay, now I'm in a knock. Okay, now I'm in Zambia. Now I'm the only woman. Let's fast forward to you today and being just a woman in ICT. What would you say is still standing in the way of women being able to show up the way that actually they know that they're comfortable showing up in that? Why would you say, what would you say are the barriers to that?
I definitely think women in the sector, we should probably stop looking at ourselves as so special. And I'll qualify that by saying that I think it happens across all industries, whereby when a woman walks in, when a woman speaks up, when a woman is doing that, it is still a phenomenon. It's unfortunate. However, I think given in 2025, right, whatever sector, I think the fact that a woman is doing that will continue to be a big deal. Okay. What I think we should probably focus on is just continue to excel.
Absolutely.
Excel. Okay. Excel. Be non-apologetic about where you want to deepen your skill. Be non-apologetic about that. You create the niches, right? And whether somebody thinks it's a niche or not, don't wait for that validation. Okay. Don't wait for that validation. And so, because to be honest, I love such platforms because we don't even have enough of them. As I say, I wish this kind of platform existed in 1999 or in 2001 when I started my career. So I think we are when I walked into Zambia then became Nigeria, then it became Sierra Leone, then it became Namibia and Botswana. I was all over the place. I've been to 22 countries, 15 of which were on this continent.
Whoa.
Right? So when I say I didn't recognize what I was walking into, eventually it dawned on me about what a privilege it is. Okay? But I needed to decide who I wanted to become in this profession. And that's why I'm saying be non-apologetic about what you want to be known for.
And what skill you want to actually
deepen.
Okay.
That is critical. You will be respected for your skill. Okay. Your skill will go before you. Your reputation will always precede you. So and that will give you confidence. That's where confidence comes from. We talk about and if I reflect on my own where the confidence came from, when I could feel very convinced that I know what the hell I'm doing. Sometimes
it's not really
exactly right.
It takes some time.
It takes some time, but we're also hard on ourselves.
Quite a lot,
We are hard on ourselves, but also when I came to appreciate that I can't be the only one struggling. Just because my male counterpart isn't talking about it or it's not visible doesn't mean he isn't struggling. Okay.
Wow.
Doesn't mean he's not struggling. And what is he doing about it? Oh shit. Okay, Masego, he's probably, excuse my language. Masego, maybe he's spending more time after hours. Speaking to those who know, right? He's spending more time, probably being honest about his limitation. So copy some of those good bits.
And be able to adjust, right? It's about adjustment. It's about being able to read the room, we talk situational leadership. I think that's actually part of it as well. Learn to adapt.
Correct.
Because they say adapt or die.
Oh, adapt or die. Exactly. But that comes over time. So be patient with yourself, right? And here I am, boldly and openly speaking about it. It's not because it was great when I was going through it. It's not because it was easy when I was going through it. Okay. But how beautiful for it. I'm feeling it right now that I can look back and appreciate how far I've come,
Yeah. And I think it's such a beautiful story, and such a beautiful journey, right? Because we never get to actually hear the stories behind that. I mean, a lot of we make the joke and say people think that we just appeared there. So it took some groundwork for us to get here. And I think when we talk about that, the journeys and how you've had to not only adapt, but also make a name for yourself such that your work speaks for itself. Was there ever a time where you felt like, I can't do this anymore? I'm done. Maybe let me find my passion. Let me, we spoke earlier around, you also, you dance.
Yes.
Latin dancing and ballroom dancing. Was that time where you said, maybe let me just go back to what I knew?
Maybe I should go dance.
Yeah, let me go dance.
The truth is yes.
Mm.
The truth is yes. However, probably what I want to focus on is what made me then stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there was more than one point where I thought, okay, maybe we should divorce this now. Now maybe we are done here. Okay. And what kept me there, the reasons were different at each time. Okay. I had a health challenge earlier on, a good couple of years ago. And I really thought to myself, I cannot do this, Maybe if I have less stress, maybe if I'm not traveling as much, maybe if I can rest more, maybe this will work,
Yeah.
And it made sense. But then I had to think to myself, okay, is that what for all the sacrifices that I've made prior, is that what this needs to lead into now?
Sure.
Right? And then digging deeper, okay? And the deeper was then, I need support. What I really need is support, right?
Yeah.
So given where I am, given where I want to go, do I really have the right level of sponsorship? Okay?
Very important.
Very important.
Yeah.
Am I even doing the right work? So here's another thing by getting stuck in, okay, this is what I'm good at. I'm just going to do my job. Okay? What you may be doing may not be what's important to the people that you actually want to be seeing your work.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now the frustration, I was actually just frustrated. The frustration was that I was working so hard, but feeling like I'm not making an impact. But actually, I was just not working on the right things, right? And that also takes time. That takes you taking yourself, pulling back a bit and being very honest and being very bold about going to tap those other bigger boys around you to say, hey, actually, what are you doing? Why are you working on that? Can I contribute? Looking silly and acting like but actually, it's for your own benefit. Okay. And sometimes when you don't ask, you don't get. Not sometimes, you actually don't get.
If you don't ask, you don't.
You don't get.
And I'm smiling because, I've always said, if you don't go out there and challenge yourself,
Yes.
that's when things like burnout come in, right? Because you are almost like a hamster.
Yes.
Right? You're doing the same thing over and over again. And you are asking yourself, what's my value here? How do I contribute to, to the bigger picture? Because the financials come out and everyone says, yeah, we performed well.
Yes.
And you asking, what did I do? So how have you, when you look at your contribution, how have you been able to then go back and say, I nailed it?
Oh, that is everything. Okay.
Yeah.
In management consulting, your promotions, you have to be very crisp about your contribution to the dollar value of your contribution. Okay. But that is I suppose that is an industry. However, it's possible you can do that in any industry. Be very clear about how you've contributed to your bottom line. Something I also learned to do earlier on, and I suppose I was forced given the management consulting background I've been in, document your contribution, because some of the things I've done, I actually forget myself. I forget.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not because, but actually, and then you realize, oh, what did I write? Whether it be through a performance cycle, whether you're going to see a client, sometimes it's about telling the client that, hey, by the way, this is who I am.
It's your own portfolio.
Yes.
Right.
This is what I've done.
Yes. When you are submitting your performance you actually document
exactly that. That's your portfolio of evidence.
That is powerful.
You have to take that with you. You have to. That's all yours. Okay. And when things are hard, that's actually going to look back and like, this is me, man.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I did. That's where the value comes from. So I think you have to find the dots, find the dots that you're going to connect to form your value contribution story.
I'm getting goosebumps because I think a lot of times we don't talk about the fact that I did that, and we're not able to tell our stories. And by the time we exit and someone says, what has been your contribution? You're looking back and you're saying, no, that project didn't really mean much. You're looking for the next big thing, whereas your contribution, no matter how small you think it is, it actually is your story and what you have documented. So thank you for that. So Masego, here we are. It's the world of, we are now, talking 5G, even 6G. And you have been at it from the beginning.
Yeah.
What excites you the most about technology and the transition? I mean, if we look back, we used to be, was it Jeep? It wasn't Jeep.
GPRS?
GPRS.
That's GPRS.
And now we are talking, and I mean, when I look at connection, I always say our kids would die if the Wi-Fi is down. The whole house dies. So take us through your journey from GPRS and now, and what excites you the most about technology today?
Firstly, that you never see it coming.
Yeah.
The fact that I can manage my washing machine from my phone while I'm at home, that is technology.
Wow.
Right? That is IoT.
Yeah.
That is the Internet of Things, right there.
Yeah.
These are phenomena, right? That you could never even think were possible way back. Being African, I think we have a responsibility to improve our own lives, to give each other hope, to take ourselves to the next level without waiting and thinking that our potential and success, or waiting for permission to make things better for ourselves. And given the space I'm in, I cannot think of anything that could help us do that better than the technology.
Absolutely.
Having working with the big telcos in this organization, and where they sit with all this valuable infrastructure from a network perspective, the convergence of industries where the telcos themselves are becoming banks, hyperscalers like the Microsofts of this world are becoming literally tertiary institutions. So these convergences will continue to happen, and I think in them happening, they create opportunity. They create opportunity for us to solve our own problems.
Yeah.
This morning I was thinking about, I saw, I think a couple of weeks ago, this 15-year-old boy who designed a soap that treats skin cancer.
Wow.
I think you may have seen that. So I think that there's a massive real life problems that the tech should enable to do that. And I think it's a responsibility for the corporates. It's a responsibility that I have as somebody with 24 years within the industry. I have contributed, but there's so much more that I still need to contribute.
And as you say, for across the continent, right? I mean, if we look digital vortex, and we're saying, all right, closer to, I mean, when you look at the vortex, we'll then say, no, moving closer to the vortex would probably be the transportation industry. I mean, it moves around. But when I look at the issues or the challenges of the continent, I'll almost say all sectors need to move closer to actually adoption of technology.
I agree.
And I just want to know from you, you have been on the field. You've seen it across the continent.
Mm.
When you look at adoption, what are the levels of adoption across the continent when it comes to technology?
The barriers are still real, right?
Yeah.
The barriers are still real. I mean, when I'm taking my phone call from my mother's house in Soweto versus taking a phone call when I'm in Rustenburg, where my own father is buried. I mean, you still, if I want to get onto an app, but my phone, my banking app in Ruston, it's still a battle, right?
Very much so. Connectivity is still a battle.
So we still have quite a big bridge to close, okay? And I think corporates are trying, but I think we could definitely do better.
And from your end, how would you, and this not to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
what do you think needs to change? How would you change that, our current dynamic when it comes to, I mean, I always talk around the digital divide. I
Yeah.
always talk about, but in terms of just access,
Yeah.
how would you solve that problem?
You talk about that, Sibo. Tell me how we're gonna take this podcast to be it in the middle of Rustenburg, be it in the middle of Simpo.
Sure.
Can we take this podcast there? Can we make sure those young girls and boys in grade 10 who still sit in classrooms where there's 50 of them and there's one teacher standing in front, can we go make sure that they somehow get to see this podcast?
Sure.
If you're asking me personally, that is something I need to do. And I don't even think I have to go as far as Limpopo. My mother is a retired teacher.
Yeah.
I've often invited her to my girls' either a Mother's Day tea party. You know how these schools, they'll have a Mother's Day thing and a Father's Day thing. I invite my mom to those things at times, and sometimes I can't even make it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so she goes, represents me. And she's always spoken about how tiny my kids' classes are.
Yes.
Because she taught in schools whereby there'd be 80, 60, 100 children,
Yeah.
all wanting her attention, or children. That is real. She taught in Soweto. Okay.
Yeah.
She only retired. She's 70 now, so she retired about 10 years ago. But that is still a reality. But those kids are, you and I should go spend a Saturday afternoon there.
Absolutely.
Right? Just to show that, because in the same way that I do believe that if I'd seen someone like myself when I was 19 years old, I never saw anyone like myself. The impact of how far that would affect me.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also know, with we have friends in different circles. We network with different people, and we know, given their backgrounds and how that has set them up for life.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think for me, it's simple exposure, making myself, you asking me what do I think I can do? Make myself accessible so that I can give a 16-year-old girl in Soweto better hope.
I'm actually going to take you up on that, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. I always talk about the fact that, more than 80% of the population has access to a smartphone. But what are we doing about that? What is you have information right in your palm, that you don't know what to do with the device, or how you can access more, or can you actually access that? I mean, we're still talking data wars, and how it is really expensive for South Africans also.
Practically it is.
But I think you've touched on something really powerful, and I think it's something as ICT dynamic women where we can actually collaborate with yourself and other like-minded women, where we can actually take the message to the boy child and the girl child within Soweto, wherever we go. We can go to Rustenburg and actually just give that information.
Just share.
As you said, when you spoke earlier and you said you were there thinking in grade 11, what do I do? Do I do engineering? What do I do? And it's all about and I think if we can give that information, we can certainly change someone else's life.
I believe.
So we'll definitely do that. I'm looking forward to this project.
Yeah.
So I think just looking at your journey, I always love to say, from a more lighter note, we can say it's a lighter note. 2025, Vision 2025 for you. What's on your vision board? What does that look like? Oh, it's half year, but it is a victory.
Yeah, there's a lot on my vision board, and I have updated it quite constantly. But I think firstly on a personal note, I wanted to dance more.
Yeah.
And so I do that. I get to dance at least twice a week. I do Latin and ballroom.
Wow.
That's definitely on my, and I'm so proud of myself. I will literally plan my day around the fact that I need to make my dance class.
Wow.
And that is a major achievement.
Absolutely.
I would encourage a lot of men and women to set such a priority. And then second, this is a massive one for me, in the sense that I've spoken to you a little bit about my own health challenges.
Yes.
But what that ended up doing is that I formed a concept around, it came to my mind, and then I started doing a bit of reading, and I realized actually it's kind of a thing. So leading of the self, because I think we speak a lot about leadership in terms of the other.
Yeah.
But we don't really speak about leadership in terms of the self.
Of the self. Yeah.
How is Masego, and I'll use that corporate word or that formal word. How am I governing myself?
Yeah.
How am I keeping it together? How am I making sure that I am really staying true to myself? When I'm not well, do I understand why I'm not well? Am I really investing in the right relationships, be it personally and professionally, right? Are these relationships right for me?
Yeah.
And in the management consulting world, relationship is all you have. And it's probably in all worlds, to be honest. That's how you build career. That's how you build marriages, friendships, partnerships.
Exactly.
It's all about relationship. So self-leadership so I spend more time almost studying it as a concept.
Yeah.
And then it led me to the study of neuroscience, etc. So, when I made the top 100 IT women in IT last year.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, or how this is even going to work, but I need to pull these worlds together.
Yeah.
Female leadership, neuroscience, and technology. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we probably have a leadership. I don't want to call it a crisis. Okay, but we have a leadership.
Almost like a
vacuum.
It's like
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And how do I use those three facets? How do I pull them together to almost solve for that problem?
Wow. And you mentioned, so you started. That's another thing that you're reading up on that in neuroscience. What else are you reading?
Oh yeah,
we've spoken about the
I'm reading all of this, so I've read all of this. Can I?
Yes, please.
So, I mean, and I spend a lot probably reading more on more spiritual books, because I meditate. I'm a meditator. I normally go on a 10-day silent retreat at the beginning of each year. It's a silent retreat. I practice what's called Vipassana meditation.
Yes. We did talk about
we chat. Yes, we did. Right?
Do you actually know?
Yes. And Vipassana is really, and I suppose it's so appealing to me because it's just that simple. The simple concept of the fact that everything comes and it also will go. Okay, nothing is constant. So don't cling on too tight, but also be where you are. I'm here with you now, and I'm literally having the time of my life. I'm completely here with you.
Intentionally so.
Intentionally so, because that's when you get the best out of yourself, and that's when you're probably bound to get the best out of someone else, because you are energy. You're just oozing energy. Through you get the best out of someone else, and the best of you also manages to come through.
So you've read quite a lot.
So yes, and these are books I have read this. This is What Happened to You, Conversations on Trauma, Resilience, and Healing. And Oprah did quite a massive contribution to this book, right? This is a difficult book.
I mean,
the book.
I thought getting into these spaces, because for me it was also about, it took me to childhood, and also how I navigated and showed up in corporate as self, and how I show up now.
So you understand, right? Yeah. So you answer your own questions, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's why I read that book.
Right.
This
one. Right. Absolutely. Black was right.
Okay. This, I I bought the audio because I'm mostly on Audible because I'm on the road and then. And then a friend of mine then gifted me the hard copy, Brianna Wiest. So it's like 3-page essays on life. So it's a brief life lessons on each, on love, on self, on how we are hard on ourselves, on what causes disease, on how to give yourself a break, But she just succinctly captures messages through. It is 101.
It is 101.
Yes,
So we
but
got
very, very succinct and beautifully written.
Right. And then so these are from a personal perspective.
Yes. Yes.
Anyone's on
Leadership, yeah.
and how we orchestrate.
So there's been quite a few. As I say, I probably have more on Audible than I literally. And I always say, once I've bought on Audible, I'm going to buy a hard copy. It just never happens. I can't tie the two together, so I give up. And funny enough, this was also a gift, but the infinite game. Now this for me and the worlds that I navigate was powerful. In the sense that he speaks of, you will see the different leaders, how they show up in organizations, if, basically differentiating from a what do I call it? An infinite mindset and a finite mindset.
Yeah.
Right? How you approach it, those leaders are very different in how they show up and how they even deal with problems and opportunities,
And then I love this. Sorry about that. I love how we say we can't choose the game. We can't choose the rules. We can only choose how we play.
There we go.
Again,
there we go.
To how, when we spoke about how have you actually kept for so long in the game.
Yes.
And you said, Sibs, I had to navigate the politics. And I said to you, I can't do politics. I'm running away from that stuff. And this is actually how we play.
Yes.
And how would you say, we're seeing a lot of talent leave us. Young men are leaving. There's almost a vacuum in skills because we are seeing women talking about mental health challenges. Someone said, they wrote on social media and they said, I just bumped into I just smelled a perfume that smelled of kind regards. So they're looking at us, our generation, and saying, as disgust. So, and I'm trying to understand, how did you navigate those politics? And another young woman sitting there thinking, I can't do this. This is too much on my mental health.
I was that person who thought I can't do the politics, okay? But there's actually a woman who wrote that book. And I remember I went to a talk not so long ago. Masego is 4 years, a long time ago. Yeah, I guess. So, and she written the book, If You Don't Do the Politics, Politics Will Do You.
Wow.
Please Google that, okay? There's a book. I remember it was a blonde lady. I can't for the life of me remember her name. And that's just really the truth. So the problem with politics is that even when you think you're not in them, you actually are. So I thought it's something I chose to pop in and out of. No, right? And the politics are politics are okay, how well you're doing in a project.
Yep.
Which is what you think you should be doing, okay? However, somebody out there thinks, okay, why was this project not given to me? Okay?
Absolutely.
That is a political game already happening there.
On its own.
Okay? On its own. If you're both targeting the same mentors or sponsors within the organization, okay, how do you navigate that? Okay, because they have to equally sponsor you, as a leader in my organization, and I'm talking to younger consultants, etc. How do I my goal is to help them, right? My goal, they all have to excel, okay? But they have to navigate the fact that they can't be seen to be too competitive. They must still keep track of their own goals, okay? That is you navigating your politics in the organization.
Sure.
Okay? So I think it's you going to see clients, begging a client, and other people going, oh, how did she do that? And now they're waiting for you to get something else wrong, okay? That you have to remember that, oh, if I fail this, it's not the end of me, okay?
Yeah.
That is you navigating the politics.
Some of it, we look at it as petty, right? Oh,
yeah.
Someone made a comment about how I dress, how I show up, and these eat away at your self-esteem, right? At some point. But we can talk
for hours. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Let's 2 more books.
Two
That
more
you are
books.
looking
This
at.
is on self-leadership. I told you about my journey, and that's more on your probably your EQ.
Yeah.
And
Very important.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it runs very low in our spaces, right? Sometimes. So
Yeah.
and yeah, to tie that back to my neuroscience study. That's going to be a very critical book in what I'm working on in terms of bringing these worlds I spoke about together.
And I'm hoping that we will be seeing that work. Are you going to be writing?
Am I just committing to something?
Yes,
Yeah,
you've literally just
I want
committed
to
a
write.
paper. I'm
I
looking
do.
forward.
I am going to write. It is something I formally plan to launch. It won't let me sleep, so I have to do it.
Great.
Okay. This is what I'm reading now. I found it in one of my best friend's houses, and I just picked it up. Not an easy book, but this is, I think the title just speaks for it. What got you there won't get you. What got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
Right. And this is also just, I think, like hashing on the self-awareness, right? I think the tools for self-awareness in leadership, you cannot get enough of that. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to consciously remain or make a conscious effort about who am I, Reed? What is really going on? The self-aware, how you're dealing with your day-to-day, how you're dealing with the lady in your canteen, how you're dealing with the guy in the car park, how you're dealing with your partner, with your children, right? How you're dealing with your boss, how you're dealing with your own siblings, right? That is, yeah.
And I think
a threat.
more to the corporate side. I was having a conversation actually with a friend of mine, and we said, geez, we were dynamic in our 20s. We could walk in and own the room and want to.
Yeah.
You always wanted to change the world. Because remember in graduate programs, you come in and they say, we hired you because you're one of the best and you are here to change. You're sparky.
Yeah.
And when you get to your 30s, it starts slowing down. And you're saying, but I'm still sparky. But I think for me, this particular read,
Yeah.
this situation does not require 25-year-old Sips. It needs a different Sips. But I'm still showing up as a 25-year-old. And I think this is what it did for me.
I totally agree. I told you and I have spent, I don't know how long we've been here now, but we've spoken about really your career and you know how I've navigated mine, etc. But I think the message here is that the conversation on your career is not a once-off conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's another thing that I wish somebody had told me, right? It's you have to constantly be reviewing that.
Self-review is important.
Yeah.
And also getting feedback from others.
Getting the feedback. Yes.
Yeah.
And understanding the difference between proper critique and criticism, you know. So don't get lost in the critique, right? I mean, I'm assuming here that hopefully people who you do get the feedback from, and if it sounds like critique, you know, and probably go out of your way actually to get the feedback. Because trust me, a lot of it will model you in a way that probably wouldn't be possible if you hadn't gotten that feedback.
Sure. I mean, sure, it's been such a fantastic conversation. I just to close off, what would you say to any young woman watching this today who's probably, looking at, I'm looking to get into the world of ICT, and it's two-pronged, or I am navigating a difficult situation or conversation at work. What would you say to that?
Probably the young woman wanting to enter the field, please do come. Enter the field. There's more than enough space. It's not a pie. Okay. There's your magic is required here.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's calling you, please go after it. Okay. Your contribution, there's things that you will not know until you're on the inside. Okay, both opportunity and challenges, but you're gonna have to decide what you want to be shaped by. And probably that person navigating difficulties. Don't shy away from asking for help.
Yeah.
Okay, and help may be going to talk to a therapist. Okay,
True.
Help may just be that honest conversation at home with your partner. Okay. Help may be an honest conversation with your own children.
Yeah.
okay, about what mommy is able and not able to do
Yeah.
anymore, at least for now, okay? And help may also be, you know, finding the right support within the organization. You know, don't take for granted who you're going for coffee for. You know,
Yeah.
who you're having dinner with. You know, are those the people? Is that a helpful setup for you?
Yeah.
You know, and who should be entering the circle then? Given where you are,
Absolutely.
you should be opening now the circle, or just to your point around, this served me at 25. I'm now 45. It's not serving me. So who do I open the circle to now?
Yeah. But, you know, I cannot close this off without saying thank you so much. For me, that has been, I mean, I'm literally getting goosebumps because it's sort of like I'm talking to myself here. It's like I'm talking to my twin because it's always so refreshing to have stories and of leadership shared and challenges because we never bring that to the fore.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Masego, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I am holding you up, and it's two commitments. One, how do we take this to larger audiences, to that girl child, to that boy child,
Yes.
and then also the paper we are writing.
Okay.
Neuroscience, we are bringing that together. And there we go, folks.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the ICT Dynamic Women podcast. Don't forget to watch, subscribe, share, and like, and join us again for another dynamic and powerful conversation. Thank you.